Hello, my name is John Fairbanks and this is my first YouTube video. I decided to make this video after a friend of mine started talking to me about nuclear power, and they showed me the video that I'm responding to, which is Nuclear Power: A Danger to Our Children by The Libertarianist. And I was really nitpicky about it. He said a lot of stuff that I think is just patently false, and a lot of other stuff that's really misleading. And so he asked me if I would make a video explaining those problems, and I agreed, and here I am making a video. I'd like to begin by saying that I really think that you guys need to watch out for ad hominem attacks, because I find that this guy uses them quite a bit, and in fact I wouldn't have made this video if it wasn't for the fact that he's very condescending and elitist. It's as it seems to me, calling anyone who doesn't support nuclear power, saying they don't know shit about nuclear power. I think that's just kind of silly. But anyway, I'm going to jump right in and start talking about some of the problems that I had with this video. First of all, I think it's ironic that someone that calls himself the Libertarianist would support a power system that is only supported anywhere in the world by government subsidies, because nuclear power plants do not exist anywhere in the world as a result of market forces. He says at one point in the video, how can nuclear power be expensive? Because if it was expensive, companies wouldn't want to build them. Well, they don't. There honestly is not a single power plant in the country or anywhere in the world that is supported in terms of construction costs, maintenance costs, waste removal costs, and everything else that goes into the cost of a power plant by anything other than government money. He also says that nuclear power is the cheapest form of alternative energy, which is ridiculous. I press him to show where he got the information that he flashes up on the screen in the form of that graph that shows that nuclear power is really low. I think it looked like just a couple cents per kilowatt hour, which is absurd. That doesn't factor in, I don't know what he's citing exactly, but everything that I'm looking at shows that it's from 8 to 11%, and that's before you factor in the costs of waste removal, proliferation prevention, mining, and the construction of the plant, which generally ranges from about $4 to $7 billion. So, of course, when you don't factor in things like that and you only look at the maintenance of a plant, it is going to look like a very cheap form of energy, but it's not. So again, I press him to release that information, and I'm fairly certain that it's not going to be factoring in things like the construction. When you do, the other forms of energy are much cheaper. In fact, Rocky Mountain Institute found that if you were to take any sum of money and spend it on increased energy efficiency, i.e. hybrid cars, better insulation in homes, thermostat control, more efficient light bulbs, etc., that you would be 7 times as effective per dollar spent as you would with nuclear power at reducing carbon emissions. And the reason for that is that it's just so expensive to use nuclear power. I think that a recent analysis of the cost of increased energy efficiency per kilowatt hour is like 3 cents per kilowatt hour. So I think, in general, as a general principle, that nuclear power, and there are a number of other reasons that, if pressed, I will go into further, and also if anyone wants to question any of the information that I give in this video, I would be very happy to give you my sources. These are some of the reasons why I think that nuclear power should be kept out of the alternative energy portfolio. Because when you look at things like the cost per kilowatt hour after factoring in construction and waste management, etc., you'll find that you would be much more effective at reducing carbon emissions if you invested in other things. I also want to stress the fact that nuclear power only addresses one of the major causes of carbon emissions, which is the electricity, because that's all the nuclear power can do. It does not affect two of the major causes of carbon emissions, which are driving vehicles and heating homes. So, I have some information that in order for, if we built, actually I'm just not even going to talk about that, because this is all a continuous shot. I'd also like to apologize for how primitive this video is. I don't want to spend the time and effort editing or throwing in pictures or anything and making it look fancy like the Libertarianist does. I also want to stress, he says that he talks about the terrorist issue, and he says that you would kill more people driving a plane into a skyscraper than into a nuclear power plant. I think that's just patently false, and that all you have to do in order to determine that that's patently false is to look at things like the incidence of cancer-related deaths around Chernobyl, which is where there was everyone's familiar with that. In Belarus, for instance, only 15 to 20% of the children are born healthy. The UN survey that was conducted determined that it was hard to prove a link between Chernobyl and a lot of these deaths that were occurring. I think there were like an increase of like 25,000 instances of cancer-related deaths between when Chernobyl happened and now. And there's like 300% increased chance of increased infant mortality, and there are a whole lot of problems. But that it's impossible to prove the link. But the fact is that the correlation is there, a very strong correlation between when the event happened and the increase in all these cancer-related deaths. Thyroid cancer is the biggest one. So I think that that's really misleading. He also says that something like Chernobyl could never happen here. I think that that's maybe not. I don't think that he's trying to misinform you, because the information he gives about a containment zone is accurate. Something that cause could never be present here, I don't think. But certainly leaks can happen. The NRC has been power operating the nuclear facilities in the United States, for instance, from between 7 and 20%. And there was a reactor in Illinois that developed a 2.7 meter crack as a result from a 20% power uprate, because the facility was just not built to withstand that sort of a power uprate. And after it was found out, and GE found out about it, General Electric, who was the manufacturer of the reactor, they investigated 15 of their other reactors that had been power uprated by 20%, and they found that in 13 of them there were similar problems, all of them vibration related. So I think that if stringent oversight were applied, then there probably wouldn't be a leak in the United States, which is why I don't use that as a major argument. But apparently that sort of oversight doesn't exist, because and also inspections have decreased in time. They've about halved, whereas they were doing general inspection checks or whatever once a year. Now they're doing it once every 2 years when the facility is refilled. He also says that Yucca Mountain is an argument used by liberals to show that storage of nuclear waste is impossible or whatever because of the delays. And then he's like, well, but they caused the delays in the first place. He's being really misleading here, because the problem with Yucca Mountain is that when they were performing nuclear testing, which he mentions in his video, they believed that it was a contained zone, and now they know that the area is very porous, and there are a lot of concerns that radioactive materials have leaked into the water supply. I'm about out of time for this video. I'm probably going to make another one addressing some of the other issues I have with the video, but for now, goodbye.